Some major situations coming down in our world where brands are going to be expected to respond. Roe v. Wade, the ongoing war in Ukraine. So today we thought we'd take a look at 3 examples of situations that took place in pop culture that went wrong, where there are lessons we all can learn in a crisis situation. Number 1, you remember this? Seems like it happened yesterday. The slap. We're not talking today about Will Smith's response. We're going to talk about the lack of response from the Academy. It took them days to respond. They should have had a crisis communications plan that took into account the unimaginable. That's what you're supposed to do in a crisis plan, is anticipate what no one thinks could possibly happen, so you're ready to respond when the unimaginable occurs, and it doesn't take you days. The impact for the Academy was that this story, the slap, continued to be headline news for several days and taking attention away from the winners and sucking the air out of the crisis. Situation number 2, we all know this woman, Kim Kardashian, does an cover interview for Variety magazine. It's also recorded on video. She is asked what her number 1 piece of advice is for women. She says that the women should get their butts up and work, although she used much more colorful language. Of course, that didn't go over very well. People thought it came off as privileged and inappropriate. So trying to make amends, Kardashian apologizes and says that Variety took her out of context. But Variety and the reporter fight back. They've got the videotape, and they show that, in fact, Kardashian did make that comment. So here's the lesson. First, you don't always have to respond to every critic, particularly on social media. Second, if you do decide to apologize, make sure that it's sincere. And third, if you're gonna fight back and blame somebody else, make sure you know who has all the receipts. Third example, of course, we all know Alec Baldwin. Tragic shooting on the set of the show Rust, right? And instead of coming out and saying something, Baldwin doesn't speak out for over a month. It makes him either look uncaring or guilty. Finally sits down with George Stephanopoulos for a one-on-one interview. The interview goes terribly wrong. Baldwin takes no responsibility. And the lesson is he had a perfect opportunity to instead say, this is never going to happen again. Let my mistake create a fund or a benefit or a foundation to make sure that we do more education or security on movie sets or TV sets where deadly weapons are being used. So overall, remember, no response in a crisis is a response. A late response is also a response and is likely going to keep the story going. And a bad response most certainly can blow air or make a crisis worse instead of better. And that's 2 minutes of advice today from Sunwest.